Hey guys, how you doing? I just want to say thank you for clicking onto this video. Thank you so much, and please share, like, so that us like-minded people, we can always have the same message, sharing the same message. So yeah, please share the video. I sat down after watching Wode video with the HIMBA tribe, and I've also looked into, before I even watched the video about the HIMBA. I knew the HIMBA existed, but I never really had time to look into how they lived. I knew they existed, I knew what happened to them and all that. I looked into the Maasai quite a lot, just how they live and few things that they do. And by looking at some of these nomadic African tribes that still sort of have managed to keep their way of life, there's a lot of things we can learn. Because I've realized, as black people, there's one thing that we've gotten wrong, and especially as Africans, is that we've confused westernization with modernization, right? Modernization, we can pretty much stick to everything that we do, but just modernize them. Whereas westernization is where we try to copy everything that white people do, and that's the religion and all that stuff. And so far, it hasn't turned out good, So I watched first of all, I just want to say something. Do you know that a Maasai, even the people that Wode visited in South Sudan, a Maasai child has more money at birth than majority of kids born in Western countries? Most of those Maasai kids will have about 500 cows waiting for them. All right, 500 cows. The minimum you get for a cow, even in Africa, is $1,000. So that tells you this kid has $500,000 at birth. How many of you guys have $500,000 at birth? On top of that, most Maasai live until they're like 100. So we can't say we have better access to medicine, than them. When what's the average? Let's say in America, an African American, I think most people die around the 55. I think I hear, whereas the Maasai are living until they're 100. So when I watched the spell of the Maasai, I started asking myself, what is it that they do that I can copy now? Because these are my people, man. So I can copy and just try to modernize it, And then when Wode did the HIMBA video, it just sort of solidified what I've been actually trying to do and also doing at the same time. So what am I talking about here? Okay, I'll tell you something. First of all, in my last video when I mentioned this about the HIMBA people, there's things that I noticed there is that those people never ever ask for handouts. They never ask for handouts. They live their lives. They're healthy. You could look by the way that they're lean. They're not fat like most of us people are in the Western world. Even in westernized Africa, it's fat. We put too much oil in what we eat, especially in Africa. Apparently we think it's tastier. Or we put too much salt in what we eat because we believe it's tastier. And these things are killing us. If you look at those people, the women looked lean, the young people looked solid. It's just healthy. Okay, it's funny how when you look at all these rich people, how they look now, the ones who are trying to be healthy, they don't look different from how a Maasai or a HIMBA man looks like. If you go to men or women look like, they look lean because now, I'm eating vegan, or I'm a vegetarian, or I go to the gym all the time, and all those things. So what is it? Looking at the HIMBA, what is it that I learned? First of all, you see an old man there. First of all, one thing was stage. They don't care about age. It's about stages. So you were a youth, you were an adult, and you were an elder. You know, it's those stages that are important in life. Okay, and that's what they focus on. You know when you were an elder, you know when you were youth, and you know when you were an adult. You know, you don't need to know how old you are. You know, where I grew up in Africa, I never really celebrated birthdays. So it's never been my thing. I don't care. And I know a lot of, when people come here, especially these refugees that come into the Western world, and they have to, you know, get their passports and tell the birthdays. You realize that I know a family, all of them, the kids are born on the 1st of January, because that's the only thing the mom could think of when she was asked about having their passports. 1st of January, first. I'm like, oh wow, all of you are born on the 1st of January. But that's because in Africa they didn't care about birthdays. It doesn't matter. It's not important. Believe me, it's not important. Okay, so when I looked at that man, that old man, when he was asked like, how old are you, and he said, too many. Great answer, by the way. Great answer. You know, the reason why I'm saying this is that if you look at, I started doing something 3 years ago, where I said, you know, I've never seen birthdays. I do it for my kids because they've grown up in the Western world, and they might not even understand it. But I tried to build that into them so at a later stage when they're able to think, they can understand it. Because I've said, you know, anybody wants to buy me a present on my birthday, just give me money. I don't care whether it's $5, $2, just give it to me. Okay? And all the money, I looked at all the money I used to spend on birthdays in the previous time. And what I did this time, I'll take that money and I'll invest it into an ETF. Right? And I have to tell you, the results have been amazing. In the last 3 years I've done it, I've doubled my money. Okay, in 3 years, I have doubled all my money that I could have wasted on, you know, birthday stuff and partying and parties and all that stuff. You know, I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm too old for birthdays anyway. You know, I've had enough of it. Even though most part, it doesn't register for me. You know, and also like when I was growing up in Africa, I was a Seventh-day Adventist. They don't celebrate Christmas. So even Christmas and New Year, I don't. And all I've done, same thing. Don't buy me anything. Just give me money. I take that money and I invest it. And like I said, in 3 years, I have doubled my money. And I still have fun. Okay? So that's one lesson I learned when that I've kept this going back in my life. I've looked at the Maasai, and just it was confirmed by that old elder at the HIMBA village. You know, and I'm gonna tell all black people out there watching this video, or any person, white, brown, I don't care. You have to find out the reason why the birthdays have become such an important thing. Try to think of it as like this. If you did celebrate, what's the worst thing that could happen? You're still going to wake up tomorrow. You know, the only good thing is that you're not even going to have a hangover this time. I hate those things because you end up wasting the rest of your day. Okay? So, the only reason why we do all these birthdays, Christmas time, it's good for whoever owns businesses, which most of us don't. Most Africans, just all over the world, we don't. Even in Africa, maybe West Africa, I think West Africans are doing all right at the moment. Obviously, Dangote, the richest black man in the world. But most of us don't own nothing. So we've become consumers. If you look in America, where they keep statistics, and we can use that as an example, $1.6 trillion every year black people spend in America. We big spenders. BMF, man, blowing money fast. Guys, think about it. I'm not saying stop celebrating your birthday. It's something that, or Christmases, if it's something that you love, do it. All right? At all cost. But at the same time, I'm going to encourage you to just do something. Make a change to it. Even say, okay, instead of whatever has been spending, you can go back and look at it and calculate. I'm going to try to save 10% of that and invest it. If you're in America and invest in VTI or VU, or look up Fidelity or Schwab and find out the indexes that they have or ETFs that they have that you can invest in. If you're in Australia, I would say look at VAS, which is a Vanguard thing, or you can even look at, these days there's a lot now in Australia as well. You can look at Raise, which is AIZ, or you can even look at Spaceship Voyager. They have some nice ETFs there. Some of them are doing 30-40% for the past 3 years. And once you do that, I want you to see what happens to your money. Because what you're doing, you're saving for your future. So you don't have, because I tell you what, the elder in the HIMBA village, he's not going out there hunting hard and all that stuff. Now he's become an elder. He's the one who talks to people in the morning. He's trying to teach them. He's an observer. So those are the stages in life. When you were a youth, when you were an adult, you try to put money so that in your elder years, you don't have to work as much. You can just enjoy life because you've worked so hard during your younger days and your youth days. Okay? And I'm going to tell even youngsters, black people out there in the Western world, in Africa, when you have a job, don't try to go and buy a fancy car, because then it means you're going to have to work for the rest of your life. Warren Buffett has a very good quote where he says, if you go to sleep, if you are not making money while you sleep, you're going to end up working for the rest of your life. That's a very good quote. And also one of the guys I listened to, Warren Buffett's VP, Charlie Munger, but also if you look at Benjamin Franklin, his autobiography or just his teachings about wealth, it's quite interesting. So for you, if you anywhere, it's obvious, I assume majority of my viewers are black, but anywhere in the world, when you have your first job in your 20s, this is one thing I'm going to encourage you. Don't buy material things. Invest your money. I'll give you an example. If you invest, let's say you are making $100,000 when you start working, right? If you invested $50,000 of that every year for the next 6-7 years, when we add compounding to that, you might end up having something like $700,000. I mean, $400,000. All right. And the way the indexes are doing these days is just ridiculous. So you might end up having more than $400,000. But then what you have to realize is that, let's say we go with the minimum 10%. 10% of fund is $40,000. So now you can use that for, if you're at 20, by the time you're 27, you're gonna have $40,000 that you'll be making while you sleep every year for the next whatever years. All right. So now you can have that $40,000. You can use that. You can go and buy a fancy car and use the $40,000 to pay it off. You can go and buy. If you didn't buy a house, houses are good, but also you have to realize the reason why most governments emphasize on us buying a house, it's because of job creation. All right. If you are not actively involved in real estate, when you buy a house, I think it becomes an expense. Unless you use that, I don't know how things work in other parts of the world, but that's just in Australia. Unless you use that house, or unless you start as an investment property, you buy an investment property because that adds value to your income. So whatever, let's say you put it on rent and you're making $25,000, that's added to how much money to your gross income. And you have $100,000, a job that's paying you, let's say $100,000, plus that $25 from that, you have $125,000, which means the gross income is bigger, and you can go and buy more properties and more properties and more properties. So you can grow real estate like that. Okay? But if you are just a youngster, don't worry so much about that. Just put the money in the stock market, build it up, and then use that passive income to quench your materialistic craving. That's it. That's it, guys. You don't have to be doing 2 jobs so that you can just drive a fancy car, or you can have 10 pairs of Nike, or of Jordans. I'm gonna encourage you, for every Jordan that you buy, make sure you buy 10 stocks of Nike. Simple, and that has more benefits to your life in the future, as like that elder of the HIMBA at the HIMBA village, or the elders in other African tribes whose now job is just wisdom, give wisdom to the youth because they've worked so hard. Okay. What other lesson did I learn from the HIMBA? Is that you don't have to you can have fun with simple things. You don't have to speak. You know what? I like the part where they went into this cave and it amplifies their voice. They didn't spend money making that. It doesn't cost anything to just go to that place. If anything, it's a workout, it's an exercise. You go there and you just sing. I see even an elderly dancing. That's good health. An elderly man dancing. It is, I can't twist because I might break my hip joint. No, he was there having fun with the youngsters. So it doesn't cost much to have fun. Don't think you have to go and spend, we're gonna go to Vegas, man. We're gonna go and spend 100K this. You don't have to do that. Oh, well, if that's your passive income, that's good. But majority of people, they spend that money after they've worked hard for it. Any money that you've traded your time to make it, don't waste it. Create some sort of passive income. If you got $1 million, don't go and buy a Ferrari or something like that. Go buy a fancy house and put it on rent, and then use the rent money you collected from that to pay off your Ferrari. So now you got both sides. Guys, you gotta think about this. There's a lot of things we can learn from our African tribes, and then just put a modern spin on it, and it will benefit you. Health. Look how healthy those people look. Look what they ate. They didn't indulge in things. No salt in food. Some of us just think we gotta add so many things to cooking oil, and we gotta eat all this stuff. You gotta go and have. It's so good to have that, but minimize it. Minimize it, because your health is very important. I'm looking at those guys live a life of sickness prevention. Yeah, that's one thing I picked up before I even end this video. I want to just quickly discuss this. In the West, most people, we live a lifestyle that encourages us to overindulge because we got access apparently to best medical help. But you don't need doctors all the time. The best thing you can do, like my mom used to tell us, is prevention is better than cure. In the Western world, it's all about cure. But what I've noticed, these African tribes, the way they live a life of prevention. This is why they live a life of prevention. They are not trying to get sick. They avoid getting sick. That's why they eat better food. They exercise, actually. If you look at the dances and everything they do, that's exercise. Some of us, because our life is so now, we're trying to catch up with the Joneses or keep up with the Joneses. Some of you guys end up even doing 3 jobs, where you're sleeping less hours. That's not beneficial. Don't live like that, guys. Don't live like that. Your health is very, very important. Live a life that prevents getting sick. So you can't be going to the doctors all the time. Eat well. Don't overindulge. Not too much KFC, not too much Chick-fil-A, not too much, McDonald's and all those things. Eat well. Your health, prevention is better than cure. And that's one thing I want you to take from this. Alright guys, those are just 2 lessons I learned about finances and health from African tribes. If you look at the HIMBA and the Maasai, most of them live until it's normal to live up to 100 years old, and they are not like, 100 years old can't even walk. They can still walk at 100 years old. Okay? Please let us look at how these tribes, don't just look at them from like the way they dress and the way they dance. Think about how their lifestyle, how they're living their lifestyle, because they have similar DNA to you, and how is it that they are able to live to 100? Because longevity, guys, is very important. And then use that in a modern way to keep yourself healthy and wealthy at the same time. Wealth creation is a long game, guys. Don't try to make money quick. It's long game. You gotta play the long game. All right. So thank you so much, and stay healthy, and please share this video. Goodbye.